Can you hear me?
Yep. When you said that, yeah, I
Cool.
could. Yeah. I love that everyone went with the blue background because of the pictures. Let's
Yeah,
get
so I
down.
feel like I'm kind of like spinning my wheels. Like I don't know what's like the biggest upgrade. I feel like I spend my money on just like random stuff, and I'm always just broke and like not really getting any like anywhere. Kind
Mm-hmm.
of like like range. Don't know
Yeah.
what to shoot next. What's like the next biggest upgrade?
Uh-huh.
My Legion score is like trash.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of this is going to center around the well, not center around, but it's going to be related to what part of my commands have you seen before and looked into, or are you like completely new to the stream and all
Oh
of
no,
that stuff?
I'm like familiar with like all the systems, and I've looked. I have like all your pages open, and I'm just following them, but I
Mm-hmm.
just don't know like where to go from here.
Okay. So the progression one is like center to a lot of the conversation, right? With all the numbers and like the what are you aiming for in different stages of the game. That one. Oh, hello.
Wait, what was that? I'm sorry.
The progression command is like pretty central to everything that we're going to be talking about, right? It's all like connected to where you want to go and what you want to aim for, basically.
Okay.
Have you seen this one before?
Uh, yeah, I've seen this before.
I'll link it to you. So what level are you at right now? You're HoYoung, right?
I would say I'm like in between early and mid game.
Mm-hmm. So you're like, what are you like? What in between early and mid? So you're like, you have to pick one, okay? level
Well, I
level
mean,
wise,
based off
level
my
wise, where are you
character
at?
level wise, I'd be mid game.
Yeah, okay. So, well, you're 220, right? So you would be, at least for my chart, right? Some people will say like the early game, like mid game starts at like level 260 or something. Everyone has like their own definitions, right? But if you go by this grid and these definitions, we want to be seeing you being around a point where you can transition, at least according to this grid, from like the mid to the late game, right?
Yeah.
So if you level very, very quickly, and that can happen through various reasons, the main reason being like events, right? Events can like just rocket fuel you through a bunch of stuff. And the great thing is that you can feel like you're making a lot of progress because your level's going up quickly. But the negative thing is that all the other stuff doesn't really get as much attention. And that can mean that at a certain point you just hit like a major wall and you don't really know how to get over it, right? And there's no door. You can you can
Yeah,
Simpson you can't Simpsons your way out of this one. Like there's no door through the wall. You have to actually get over it.
yeah. I feel like that's where I'm at, like at the wall where
Yeah.
I've just been focusing on grinding, and I can't really like progress my gear anymore.
Mm-hmm. So the question is, where can we? What do you enjoy doing? Like, what is already fun for you? Which things will give you the most progress that we can incorporate parts of what is fun for you into it, so that it doesn't feel like a chore, but you can, right, kind of do like two birds, one stone kind of things. That's what I try to focus on, and then incorporate and still incorporating the things you like if that's grinding and stuff, and so that you can slowly catch up the other stuff in your account with the level that you're at, right? Because if you would look at these numbers, from what I'm getting from you, is that you probably score pretty low compared to the grid, at least, like on all of these things compared to your level. Would that be
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would say my level is mid game, but I'm like start of mid game in like the early game goals. Like I could do Chaos Horntail and Pink Bean, or
Mm-hmm.
I can do Chaos Pink Bean, but like I haven't attempted solo CRA or HMAG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's not like problematic. If it's problematic, I think it's problematic because of how the game lets players move through the game, and not so much problematic of how you engage with the game. I don't think it's like a you problem. I think it's more of a game problem. Because they allow you to just flow through the end game without giving you really a lot of the tools. And then once you notice like, oh, this game is actually getting a lot harder, then you have to go investigate where are all these things, because intuitively we kind of just like skip dialogue and skip through things if you don't really feel like it's necessary. But the problem is
Yeah.
then once you feel that it's necessary, suddenly there's a whole gap in your knowledge, and then there's way too much to go over. So to try to incorporate like in keeping this fun, you know, and not making it like here's 3 hours of chores for every day for the next of the year. That's not going to be fun for you either. What do you enjoy doing, like on a day-to-day? What do you look forward to when you log in? What do you want to do?
I mean, I don't mind doing dailies. Like I usually run CPQ, like do all the Arcane River dailies,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I finish all my dailies, like I hop on a Legion alt and just start grinding.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've been doing as of late. I don't mind doing that.
Okay,
And then doing like daily bosses and stuff.
yeah. So when it comes to the Legion grind, like what do you enjoy there? Do you want to get the quick levels, or do you actually enjoy like practicing with new characters, or?
So yeah, like the new characters, like I usually just grind them out to like 120 for the level 2 link, and then just stop, and then probably just log on and do like like Zakum on a daily basis on those characters.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hit the wall at like 140 on those Legion mules, where like I can't level them up because like they're too weak.
Right, and that's actually perfectly like in line with like my general advice, right? You just like train them a little bit past 100, do one Zakum, train a little bit more. Some people do some Monster Park runs as well. Those give a lot of experience at that point. But I would typically only advise doing that if you're not using your Monster Park runs actively on your main to try to get your Monster Parker medal. So I don't know if you're working on that one.
The medal where you buy the medal from the boxes, and you have to like get like 7 of them or something.
Those are badges. The medal is the one that you get when you talk to Spiegelman. He like keeps track of how many times you've run Monster Park.
The 77 day one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one. So
okay, I should be going for that.
Well, so the thing is with IED, IED comes from like many different places. Are you familiar with the concept of opportunity cost?
Yeah.
So basically, the opportunity cost for IED on the medal is the lowest among all items in the game. Basically, so that's like one of the, and you know, since it's time gated, it's something you just slowly work into, so that eventually, once all of the sources of IED kind of come together, that's one of the guaranteed ones that you want to have because it goes at the expense of so much little other damage. So that's the one with the lowest opportunity cost, basically for IED.
Okay, and so the box we got from compensation would be good to blow on your main, just do like 7 a day to catch up for the medal.
Yeah, so when it comes to yeah, because of the value in it, right? So when it comes to Monster Park, you can max out every single day just from coupons. So there's some coupons in your reward shop, which you don't always want to use, right? Because it depends on how you're maxing out with totems and everything. I guess we can go into that a little bit. Like when it comes to reward points, do you feel like you can you buy everything that you want to, or are you sometimes short for reward points?
No, I usually when I grind, I have a totem up every time.
Mm-hmm. And you buy out like on a monthly basis, pretty much, or how much would you say you buy out from the shop?
Like NX wise or reward points?
Reward point wise.
I mean, I only started playing like 2 weeks ago, and I feel like I spend enough on NX for just to fund all this stuff on like cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah. I'm not gonna make any kind of judgment or whatever on or descriptive advice on something or how you should spend your NX. That's like completely your business. Mine is purely the like functionality part of the game, while trying to maintain fun for you. However you see fit, how you spend your money. Like I'm not gonna go into any of that.
Okay.
And as long as you abide by the terms of service, of course. But yes, so with reward points, if you can buy out all of the totems in a month, like that's pretty much a good spot to be at. I do have a video specifically on reward points and how you can maximize your income for that. I don't know if you've seen that one, but there are some. Sorry.
Can you link it to me?
Yeah, sure. There are some like alternate sources that kind of. Like through playing Maple M a little bit as well, where you have a little bit of a startup, but then after that you can pretty much just get like half of your monthly reward points for free just by playing Maple M like 5 minutes a day, and it plays like passively in the background, for example. So this can be ways that you can optimize your totem usage, and then if you have extra, you can also use extra reward points towards buying extra Monster Park coupons, quote unquote, for free, right? Because the resource isn't really worth much otherwise. Because the only thing you can buy in Reboot is the Water of Life, the Monster Park extra entries, and then the totems, and then that's it. That's all that's in the reward shop.
And like the small amount of cubes you can get.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Sorry, I'm in Belgium, so I can't get those, but yeah, that's true.
Oh.
Yeah, things that you can buy with so because of like every country basically has gambling laws for people under 18, right?
Yeah.
But Belgium has extended it to like to video games because that's also just like gambling with if it's with real money, right? So anything that costs real money or that is a currency that you get through spending real money, you cannot give the access to that to people if there's no H check on the product, basically. And since there's no H
So if
check
you
on
play on
MapleStory,
live servers, non-reboot,
mm-hmm.
you can't buy cubes with
Nope.
cash?
You can buy anything that has an RNG system in it if it costs real
Wow.
money or if it costs something you get from real money. And you can get Maple points from buying things with cash. So Maple points are a derivative currency, so you can buy any.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think either the game should like. I hope that more countries adapt that because everyone agrees. I think that like gambling for minors is probably not a great idea. But then somehow nobody extends that to video games, or like only a few places do, which is kind of weird. So I would hope either more countries and governments follow suit so that everyone is on the same page, so that games have to just kind of like restructure how they do this, or they just put in an age check and then everyone's fine, right? If if you're 18 plus, you can do whatever the fuck you want with your money, and then everyone should have access to it, and you'd be fine. But yeah, if a 13-year-old gets in there and starts spending, the old school like stealing your mom's credit card internet meme, right? And then that's probably not very good. But yeah, we're getting a little bit off track. So once you get your reward points maxed out, you can get your totems. Then that's all great. I would always, like, as a rule of thumb, when it comes to reward points, when it comes to event currency, and you've only been playing for 2 weeks, so trying to put this a little bit more in context. If there are things that you can buy that also are accessible through Mesos, then I would always put those on a lower priority of getting them with these limited resources over so below other things. So the priority, in my opinion, for the cash up would be like the Water of Life, unless you're okay with like spending money and you have access to an X, then that one would like disappear there. Then it would be the totems by a lot. And then maybe if you have something left, you can spend it on the Monster Park entry coupons, because you can also buy those with Mesos in the cash up. So if you're in the cash up and you go under, what is it, utility or something? No, it's not utility,
Yeah.
but it's like a synonym.
It's like game or something. It's like 30.
Yeah, convenience. Yeah, convenience. So there you have the Monster Park additional entry tickets as well. So you can buy them there as many as you want every month to get your max entries per day. Now you said you only been playing for 2 weeks, right? So the amount of money you have.
I've been playing for. I played like 2 months last year in April, like February, April, and then I took a break and came back.
Ah, I see.
Didn't even like before the compensation was announced.
Right.
I opened up the Arcane Umbro weapon on my HoYoung, so my boss damage is like way higher.
Right. Yeah, we'll see the details of everything once we get into the equip. So I want to make sure we get all the peripheral stuff. So a lot of times, especially if you're newer, what'll seem like the huge problem is the equips that your character has. But a lot of times it's more about like having a comprehensive idea of like how the whole game works. And then once you get all of that, like a general plan of the direction that you're taking your whole account into to service your main character, to service your HoYoung. Once you have that all figured out, the equips are kind of more like an afterthought that is just like, okay, let's just dot the I's and cross the T's. So I want to make sure that we get all the other stuff in place, and then we can go into the equips and kind of like, because most of it will become kind of apparent through figuring all the other stuff out. You will start seeing a lot of the dots and connecting a lot of the dots when it comes to your equips on what the next thing is to work on, basically.
Sure.
So what was the last thing we were talking about? Right, so the currencies.
Yeah,
so if you have special currencies like reward points, like event currency with coins and stuff, I would always prioritize items that you cannot get with Mesos in the game. That's not to say that because you can get them with Mesos, you should be buying them, but that is to say that they are in the game, they're accessible if you really want them. But other things that might be only accessible temporarily or in limited amounts. So
is the monster collection worth doing? Like filling out for the reward points? Or is there an easy way to cap without doing that?
There are, so between all of those sources in the video, if you use all of those, you'll overcap by like a lot. So if you start off by just doing like some of the bosses that you find fun or that you have access to that are enjoyable to you, plus you do the Maple Point thing on the side, you can get very close to maxing on a monthly basis already. The other thing, the reason that I like slowly over time you'll build up Monster Collection by itself, And then as your monster collection is pretty high, what I've done is I just phased out using Maple M altogether. I don't even log into that. I don't even play that anymore, because between monster collection and just doing my bosses in my account, I have enough to always buy whatever I want. So then I can just phase that out. But it's a very huge income immediately as you're building those other things up, basically.
Okay.
So with that being said, yeah, so reward points, Monster Park, yeah, and that we were connecting to building out your Legion, right? Because the Legion is one of those things where it seems weird to have to play other characters to make your character stronger. Not very intuitive originally, but the thing is, a built-out Legion is a huge difference compared to a very, very new Legion. Yes. So you do enjoy every now and then training some other characters. Would you say you do like what? How much? So how much would you play in a day, and how much of a percentage of that would be like working on Legion, and how much on your main? Would you say?
I would say like 1 to 2 hours on my main if I'm not like pushing for levels, and then I'll just do like 2 hours leveling up like Legion.
Okay, so that's actually pretty. All right. All right, I think that's enough time on your. I think even with like lower percentage, you would be fine. If you feel like you're taking a little bit too much time away from your main or something, or are you happy with this distribution right now?
I feel like I'm spending too much time on my main, like running dailies, when I'd rather just be leveling up Legion, because I heard it's such like a huge damage increase, just like progression wise. Yeah, especially like links. Like I'm kind of short on some of the good ones.
Well, so you have 14 characters now. You're familiar with the links and Legion grid that I have?
Yeah.
So you're roughly following that order. Maybe a little bit more the luck users. I see you have some purple in there for the member bonuses.
Yeah, I did like the leveling ones. I did Aaron, Evan, Mercedes, and now I'm going over to like damage and luck. I'm trying to get the Thief's Cunning level 6. My arc's almost 120.
And then
so I'm mainly focusing on the yellow ones, yeah.
Yeah. So just focusing on the yellow for now, yeah. There's a lot of yellow ones. I wish I would. Maybe I should restructure it a little bit so it feels a little bit more manageable. But I was like, oh, just do the yellow ones. Okay, just do the first 30 characters. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of very useful ones in there. You do want to pick your battles there, of course. You know, like in your personal situation right now, like if you have all the crit, like that's fine. In your current situation, you could just you could skip those for now if you wanted to, and focus on something else first. The main general basis, I don't know to which extent you're like okay with all of this, or like up to speed with all of this. Just interrupt me if you know. But like critical rate is like pretty much the foundation of every character, right? You want to have 100% crit so that your critical damage always applies. And then when it comes to bossing, you need IED to make sure you have enough penetration so that the armor of the boss is broken enough so that your damage can go through, basically. So those are like very, very important stats in the game. Critical rate, like the basis for both training and for bossing, and then ignore defense, the basis specifically for bossing.
If I have 100% crit with decent sharp eyes, should I still be working towards like crit rate Legion and Links, or?
Yeah, so like I just tried to mention, like you could use that as a, like temporarily I'm going to skip over those. However, the general order for Links and Legion is not just for your main character. It's also, well, it is for your main character, but in a roundabout way. So a lot of characters, when they start, they have very low crit. And as a result, you can't make use of the critical damage that the characters have. And one of the ways that you can make your experience and your training speed go up a lot is by getting new characters a lot of crit rate. So that's and the way to do that is by getting the crit links. So even if you don't get them to directly help your main, if you can help grow out your Legion with it faster, then your bigger Legion can eventually help your main faster. So it kind of depends. So in someone in your situation is like, I hate Legion, I don't want to level any links. You know, I would tell them like make one new character a day and get to like level 60 and then just ditch it completely and just kind of skip crit and just work on like getting a Legion of level 60s basically, and then go from there. If you're already like enjoying it, doing it, getting more crit will just allow you to speed that process up even more. And then maybe you can spend a little more time actually like grinding on your main and getting levels, because the Legion will get there. Like right now, you're already at 1.7. Remember, every character, as soon as it reaches level 60, is going to count for your Legion. So the next 26 characters at level 60, boom, will immediately count. You said usually get into 120. So even at level 100, the next 26 characters, that's 2.6k extra. So you're looking at 4.3k at that point already. So 4k is already that's already decent. You don't have to have like 6k before it starts counting or something. Typically 3k is when you first start feeling like an actual good increase for your Legion, because that's so starting at 2000, your grid increases by 1 spot, right? Up to, for every 1000 up to 6000, and then at 6000 you have the full grid available with the outer pieces as well. And then every level up past a multiple of 2.5k, instead of getting 1 extra character, you get 5 extra characters to put into the grid. So when you go from 2.5 to 3, from 5 to 5.5, and then from 7.5 to 8, which is why 8 is like the illustrious, you know, endgame goal, because that's when you actually get some value out of going from 6 to 8, is when you can actually put those 5 characters in. Because the main thing about 6k is that you have the whole grid, but you can't really fill it very well unless all of your characters are like level 250, which of course is, you know, crazy. Yeah,
my goal at the moment with Legion was to grind out another level 200 so I could get access to like the Absolab coin dailies and like progress Absolab gear faster.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. A lot of people do that with Kana because it's also easy to find other people to trade runs with. Because you can Kishin them, they can Kishin you, right? You can exchange carries like that very, very easily, and then you just double up, find like a partner to do that weekly with. Yeah, and then just doubling up your progress on those items is very, very useful, especially if you're already at 220. Now, that's not to say that you like need Abzo at this point to move forward. We can probably find a lot of ways for you to get stronger. That doesn't require you to like, you know, jump into Abzo before you go anywhere. But it will help, of course. You know, it's very strong gear. The set bonus is very good. But yeah, there's other stuff that's more time gated that we definitely have to look into as well to see how quick we can get you. So do you have access to like a guild and like people that you do things with, or do you generally do things solo?
Yeah, I'm in a guild that I usually just cap, or they'll do like a Helix coin run or some stuff like that.
And they're generally like advice, or do you build up for carries, or what kind of stuff do you like? How do you play the game basically?
Yeah, like build up for carries.
Okay, and you're planning on doing it that way, or is there also like practice struggle runs or whatever, or like what kind of things do you have access to through the guild? I guess.
Not much, actually.
Not much. Okay, so it's just building up for the carries thing that a few people do on a weekly basis, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to like make it sound like I'm trying to shit talk your guild. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land, I guess. Okay. Because yeah, what you have access to might also kind of shape what you're trying to work towards. So you're mainly trying to work towards the items from the areas, so that you can, if you get the carries, that you can make the Abzu gear, right?
Yeah. I mean, the end goal would be to be able to like solo it, right?
Yeah. Or well, end goal is maybe even beyond, right? But like one of the goals along the way for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And what have you been able to solo so far?
Pretty much everything up to CRA. I haven't like attempted.
Up to CRA. Oh yeah. You mentioned that before, like you did Chaos Wing Beam, but not CRA. Yeah. Okay. You've attempted them CRA or no?
Not yet. I haven't attempted it with the Oof Bro yet.
But you do have the CRA gear, right?
Yeah.
And you got that through the guild as well?
Carry, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So for Legion, yeah, I would just follow the general. Yeah, I just follow the yellow brick road basically, right? There is with Neo. So the upcoming update, we have the update right now with the haste and everything, and then we have the mechanical hearts. I don't know if you've been around before when that event was here.
Yeah, the androids are coming out, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So that would be that would definitely be something you want to get on your HoYoung. I don't know about other characters, maybe on a Kana or something. It's something that you can get on a bunch of characters. It is a time investment. I don't know how good you are with jump quests. I do have videos on all that as well from the previous seasons. If you want to, get like a look at that, or while you're doing it, you're stuck on something or anything like that. That's under.
Oh, are the Wondroids locked behind like jump quests?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
and that's not account wide. So for every character, you have to do at least one jump quest, but probably two to get a slightly better Wondroid access.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not like a 5-minute jump quest. It could take quite a bit. For your first try, it can take quite a while, but then you... like, for contrast, there were some people, and on the first day, I know that they took like a few days, a total of like 8 hours or something to get through it. But for me, I was doing it on so many characters and repeating it a bunch of times that after a while, I would do it in less than 15 minutes. So it depends kind of like how much you enjoy doing that, and how good you're at it, and just how many times you do it. So... yeah, that'll depend for your personal situation. But yeah, that's like the end of March. And then after that, we should be getting the anniversary event. So from KMS, that's had like droplets and stuff. So like for the future, thinking about like arcane gear and that kind of stuff. I know you're probably not thinking about any of that right now. But it is something for long term to think about. And then after that, we have Neo with more shops for droplets, and then more content coming there. The reason I was mentioning all of that is because Neo has, and I was hoping that when I started the sentence I would figure out why I was getting to this point, but I kind of forgot. Hang on. Yeah, so the con of Wonder Hearts. Why did I make this whole elaborate point of giving you the calendar for the next months in the game? Well, part of it is for the compensation, right? I don't know how much of it you've already picked up. You picked up the weapon, you said?
Yeah, I picked up the weapon and the pendant.
Independent. Okay. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine for now.
And I used one 219 pot at 219 and like 80% to ding 220 and 50%.
Mm-hmm. So you went into Lucaline?
I have to go in right now. I have to do the pre-quest.
Mm-hmm. Really fun. Yeah, and then the whole Dream Defender. Yeah, you can probably benefit a bit from Dream Defender. Oh, man, why did I... Because I was going to say something that happens with Neo that was very relevant.
Is it about hearts?
No, it was before that. The end of this.
Coin shop in Neo?
No. Skill rework, leveling. Droplet store. Oh, burning characters. Yes, thank you. Because Neo is most likely going to have 2 Terror Burns. Right? So when you're thinking about Legion, one thing that you want to think about as well is like which characters are really valuable to get past, because you said like you hit that wall at 140. That's very normal. And 140 is also where you hit the rank S for your Legion block, and that's kind of where you leave everything. And then you just make like 40 level 140s, and you have a few characters above, and then that gets you to your 6k Legion, which is like really, really solid, right? So the one extra thing that you can use to get yourself past 140, or to get yourself to 140 in some cases, is using burning events. You're familiar with the concept?
Yeah, the bonus levels and the free gear and stuff.
Yeah, so the mega burning is up to 150, and then the terra burning is all the way up to 200. So mega burning is pretty much nice for characters that you just loathe. Like you log into it and you like can't even get to level 20. You're like, I can't play this, right? These classes you just set aside and you wait for a mega burn. When it comes to terra burn, it might be characters that are either pretty good and you might want to like give more of a try, or they're characters that mainly benefit a lot from having like the double S Legion, and or even the level 3 Link skill, that you can this way just kind of like, you can get there way faster. And there's no major
Beast Tamer or Zero.
Yeah, those are very... Zero starts... Zero, I think, can never be burned, I believe, because they start at level 100, and there's like some weird story arc stuff going on, so I don't think you can burn those. But Beast Tamer, you could, yeah. Yeah, so if there's any kind of overlap between characters that can both be useful for Legion and for Lynx, and you don't like them, then those are like your go-tos for these kind of events. So keep that in mind, that the Neo is not like... I don't know if you're still going to be playing, right? Because... I don't know your personal schedule, but you said before that you played for like 2 months and then didn't play anymore, so that might happen again.
Well, I kind of dropped off like right after the Golix update because I was working towards like Golix accessories, and then it just became too hard to clear like hard looks after the update. So I kind of just like, I was like, all right, I don't know what to do. I'm done.
Yeah, there's a huge There's a huge wall with Gollux, for sure. We kind of have to sidestep and get IED from some other sources first, so that once you can get to Gollux, that kind of... Yeah, we kind of... Everyone just used Gollux as a crutch for a long time to like get forward into the game. And we can't do that anymore, and now everyone's like, oof, what do I support? Like, what do I lean on now? And it's hugely time-gated. The amount of coins you get is low. The drop rate for the equips is super low. The equips can be repurchased, but they're super expensive. So it definitely is a huge obstacle. And honestly, it feels bad because we had it easier before, but if we didn't have Gollux at all, and Gollux would just be added, everyone would be super excited about the content, right?
Yeah.
It's all like purely a matter of perspective, because like KMS doesn't even have that shit at all. If they would get it the way that we have it now, they would like jump for... That would be better than compensation for them. So it's all like a matter of perspective there. So, but yeah, if you put your eggs in that basket of like needing that to progress, and then that gets taken away like that, that feels really bad, obviously. So the main thing with that is, yeah, you can... if you can solo Hardlux, you can start looking also for Helix parties. I know your guild is doing it. If you do parties, you can also make it so that you have like a rotating like a loot system maybe with the people who run, so that you can because the coins are instant, so everyone gets their own. But you could also start rotating the drops, whereas if you go for a carry with just a coin run, even if it equip drops, typically you won't get access to it, right? So that would... You know, it would speed up once you have access to it, but it'll slow down once you can get your own access to it. The carry would actually like slow down your access to it. You know, length of the run not included in that, of course.
Like the soup earrings and belt.
Yeah, exactly. Even though they're pretty rare, I mean, they are worth 700 coins each. So you know, getting the off drop here and there would still be you know, pretty good. But the best way to get there is probably just to kind of brute force levels, honestly, and just work on your characters so that you can just kind of mow the boss down. Because for most bosses, I would say it's like a combination of practice and, you know, understanding the mechanics and checking out videos and resources and talking with other classes who play the, you know, play the other people who play the same class as you, and, you know, practicing and getting better. But there's also a bunch of bosses in this game that just have trash mechanics, and they're you just want to get strong, mow them down, and don't really give them another thought.
Helix.
And Helix
I
is...
can't stand that boss.
Yeah, since before the rework, I would have made the first argument, but after the rework, I just say just do the second one. Just find either like a really strong person, or like just like duo it, like get to 230 something and just like duo it and just mow them down and just like alternate drop table or something, and like just figure something out. But yeah, I'm not gonna like torture people into having to, you know, distill this whole boss fight to an art so that you can
probably duo with my brother and just do like a rotating thing.
Yeah. So to get you, so yeah, so all of this is like to try to get you to that point, right? Because Helix is a huge gain if you can get that set bonus. Yeah, for sure. So, but for Legion and which things to do and what to generally aim for with that, do you feel like that's pretty clear, or do you need a bit more guidance on the characters and the building there?
So you just aim for like crit rate right now, and then like damage, and trying to knock out like Link and Legion at the same time.
Yeah.
140.
Yeah, that's what the whole grid is also built on, right? It's like the overlap of like both the utility of the Legion and the Link skills, so that you can kind of do two birds in one stone. If you follow the order, you're already doing like two birds in one stone. So if there's anything else you can incorporate in that, you're doing three birds in one stone. So that's a lot of birds.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can combine that with like the haste missions or something, so that you can transfer symbol selector coupons and nodes to your HoYoung, for example, right? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All of those little extra things will help you out quite a bit. And then you go on your HoYoung, do your dailies, and then use all of the fire spawns in there to get some more experience while you're training, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, once you get access to the... Yeah, go.
What level does the hasty unlock? So if I'm like grinding on a Legion, because I've noticed it's like around like level 101. Is that right?
I think 101 is where most events unlock, yeah. They've been like slowly creeping that up a little bit as leveling got easier, but I believe it's 101. I think here. Are you familiar with the event calendar?
Yeah.
So it should be, yeah, 101 and above, yeah. But yeah, every character you have to make sure that you go to the Start tab and that you activate it first and talk to Cassandra before it even starts counting, because otherwise you might have a bunch of progress that just gets lost. You know,
Yeah, if I
things.
forget, I've been like just logging on and just burning through the thing. It's super annoying.
Yeah, the UI, it's like you have to go Start tab, then click the thing, and then click into thing. It's why
I
is it
grinded all the way to
hidden?
like 140. Forgot to click the star, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, there goes all that progress.
Yeah.
The Frito portals don't count. All of the monster skills don't count. Yeah, that Inferno Wolf you went into doesn't count. Rip.
Rip.
Yeah. No, I think pretty quickly you'll start noticing with the increased Legion that it's not so much going to be the power from the board yet. Once you hit like 3k, it's going to be the power from the board is going to start magnifying. So at that point, you want to make sure that the crit rate gets filled, especially for your Legion mules, and that the crit damage gets filled. So the outside is going to take priority over the middle by a lot. And typically you'll just build like a straight line between critical damage and critical rate. For your HoYoung itself, it's probably going to be better to build into critical damage and then into boss damage first. But for your mules, the critical rate and critical damage will be the most important. And then, you know, whichever you have left, you can put into the middle. So typically at that point, you don't go into IED yet because that's how because of how IED is calculated. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
So when it do you have a phone call?
Yeah, I don't need to answer it.
Okay. So with IED, basically, I usually use this analogy. You're familiar with the mathematical thing where if you have two people who stand a certain distance apart, whenever a person takes a percentage of the distance, the two people can never really reach each other until one of the individual steps is 100%.
Yeah.
So basically IED is the same. So you have to see IED as one of the people is you as the player and one of the people is the boss. And the distance is just depending on how much defense the boss has, how much PDR, percentage damage reduction, or no, physical damage reduction, sorry, the boss has. So like higher level bosses have more, lower level bosses have less. Which means that you still have to cover as much percentage, quote unquote, but the individual percentages will get you closer in relative distance rather than if you have a lot of defense, right?
Yeah.
So every source takes that percentage that the source is of the distance that's left between the two targets. So mathematically saying that if you have already 80%, so you're already like pretty close to the boss, if you take a 10% source, you take 10% of the missing 20%, right? So which is 2%, so you go from 80% to 82. That's what happens basically when you add IED. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Or
so even with 100% IED, you're still not negating all of the boss's defense.
So if you have functional 100%, you would be negating all of the defense of the boss. But because of how those percentages work, you can only get to 100%, actual 100%, if one of your sources is 100%. And then that source by itself...
Okay.
Well, yeah, so it's multiplicative, but it is multiplicative on the leftover. Right? So say you have no IED. You add 50%, you go from 0 to 50%. Because you take 50% of how much is left, and what's left is 100%. So you go to 50%, right? If you add 50%, you add another 50%. You look at how much is left. You're still missing 50% to get to 100%. Okay. You take 50% of that, which is 25, so you go to 75. So every time it like cuts in half. But it's not always sources of 50%. If they were, that would be great. Because big chunks... So what follows from that is that big chunks are way more efficient than smaller chunks because you calculate them at individual sources, right? If you have 50% one time, that's better than if you have 10% 5 times, because every time you calculate the 10% the next time, it's of a smaller amount, so therefore it's less efficient.
So the game doesn't take your total ignore defense and apply it to the boss. It takes each individual source and then applies it to what's left. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then you take... Yeah, so therefore, you don't want to put it into IED when you only have 6%, because that's just 1 times 6%. That's a small-ass amount. But once you have the whole grid available, and you can fill it in completely, and it becomes one blob of 40%, now you're talking. That's a huge amount that will be very efficient. So for that reason, so you take that percentage, right, that functional percentage, and then here comes the difference between what you see in your character window. So what you see in your character window is what I call your visual IED. So your visual IED is your game calculates, okay, here are all the sources of IED that you have, regardless of which skill you use and regardless of who you hit, this is how much IED is going to be applied on your hit. Also rounded up. So if you have like 83.01, it's going to show up as 84, which when you have low numbers doesn't really make a big difference. But when you have high numbers and those percentages become really important and really hard to get, right, because of the diminishing returns, that rounding up there can actually be pretty, like, can be a huge difference. If it's like 97.01 and you show 98, like that's quite a big whoop, because if you want to go from 97 to 98, you need a 30% line, right? Because you need 30% of the 3% that's left, which is 0.9. So you go from 97 to 97.9. So that's when rounding up becomes a little bit like, ugh. So we don't really want to look at the stat window too much at that point. We want to use a calculator instead so that we know what we're talking about, and we don't want to give it. Because
so
like
20% chunks from like the max level skill nodes are pretty big.
Yes, because those don't show up in your stat window, and together with some other things. So there is, and I have resources for this as well, right? If you checked IED before, so there's the whole explanation is in the video. That's basically what we went over now. We have the IED calculator. So this is the one that we use. Wait, May?
I'm seeing Codex.
Yeah.
It's like old stuff, right?
Yeah, so this is old. So you could basically just click the source and just remove it, and then roll up, and then you'll go back to 0. Or you start from the beginning, and then it'll have some stuff in it, and then you can just alter them. And whatever is the number that's going to come out here, that's going to be like your functional number, and that ties back into the progression grid, right, where I started with, and that's the number that's shown here. So this is the functional IED number that we're going to be aiming for. Does that all kind of like tie together?
Yeah.
So what's important here is that you make sure that you first try to recreate your visual IED so that you know exactly that you have all of your sources correctly. And for that, you can use the secondary source here for IED sources. I kind of just list all of them here. So you just go one source at a time and make sure that you have all of them within that subgroup. And you have all of them mentioned here. And then the number that you have here should be, if you round it up, should be the same number that you see in your stat window. And once you have that situation, then you can be like, okay, so that's what the game thinks I have, but that's regardless of what skill I use and who I hit, right? But then if you have specific skill boosters, like the boost node, like sometimes characters have like hyper skills that empower certain types of skills, right, with more IED. If that has enough uptime, that's something you want to calculate. Because in general, you only want to use the sources that have 100% uptime, so you can count on those. If you are a Buccaneer, for example, and you have like, what is it, like 20% chance or like 40% chance to ignore 100% defense or something, you can't really count that as a 40% line because it's not always going to apply. So you take
35% line on my Fafnir that I lost when I switched the Umbra. So I lost like 10% on the stat window.
Yeah, so yeah, what do you mean by that? Yeah, so that's one that you lost.
Well, I had 35% ignore monster defense on my Fafnir weapon, but now when I switched to the Umbra, like my stat window IED dropped like 10%.
Yeah, so that's a combination of two things, right? So you dropped 35, but you also gained, you also went from a 10 source to 20 because of the innate IED on the weapon.
Oh, okay.
So because the weapon, it starts with 10, right? And the arcane Ufra has a 20% IED based on it.
Okay.
So that offsets it a little bit, but yes, that is visually going to get you 10% down. But whether that functionally is 10% down, that would depend on the calculations. And whether that 10% is significant or not, that depends on how much defense the bosses that you're attacking have.
Okay.
So that's all like interconnected. So this calculator and this basically all take into account the defense of Lotus, Damien, and everything higher, which is 300% PDR. That's the defense we take into account. For reference, Helix has 250%, and Vellum has 200%, and the other CRA 3-door bosses have 100%. And everything else is kind of equivalent in between that, depending on their level of difficulty, basically. Does it all kind of tie everything together?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing to say, like, the reason that these percentages are so high is a combination of basically calculating opportunity costs, right, for the other sources of damage that you have, and calculating the defense. So the last thing I'll say about this is, like, let's say that you have 90% functional IED, and you attack a boss that has, let's say, 300% PDR. You ignore 90% of the 300% defense, which is 270%. Right? So 30% is left, and that'll be a final damage penalty on your total damage. So you're dealing 30% of your damage. 30% of your damage that you would be dealing is not being dealt, so you deal 70% of your actual damage. So now, if you go from 90 to 92%, you only add 2%, but since the boss's defense is 300%, they actually have like triple the efficiency, because now you ignore 92% of 300, which is 276%. So now you only get 24% damage reduction. So now you deal 76% of your damage, which, as a percentage of how much damage you're doing, instead of doing 70% of your damage, you do 76. That's almost 10% damage increase, right? 10% final damage increase, or 9 point something, versus getting 2% more in your IED. So that's why the higher you go and the later you go, the opportunity cost seems very high for IED, but the return on that is also very high once you go a lot higher up. So small sources of IED might be good early on because you don't have access to much IED. Then once you have access to bigger sources like big Legion block, big Gollux set bonus, maybe a line on your weapon secondary or emblem, then those become way more important and those small sources kind of fall away. And then later on in the game, those small sources kind of come creeping back, because all of them together, even if they give you like 0.5% of IED, they could give you 1.5% of your final damage, which sometimes getting that any other way might be near impossible. So that's kind of how IED can go from, being, when you're mobbing, completely unimportant, regular monsters don't have PDR, nobody cares, to I do bosses, my damage is shit, I need all of the IED I can get, to now I have access to so much IED, I can just choose whatever I want, to later in the game, now I want all of the IED I can get again, because these bosses have so much damage, and everything else only gives me like a little bit of stat.
Okay.
Yep. And then, the whole joke about this is that the last boss that was added in KMS, Saren, actually has, I think, 390% PDR. I don't know, when it came out, it had like 500%. As GMS, we have access to way more IED than KMS does, so it's already quite a lot easier for us to get these numbers. KMS can only dream of these numbers, by the way. Their opportunity cost for IED is way higher, so they have a much tougher time to getting to this point. But that's part of the reason why they nerfed the PDR for that new boss, because it was kind of impossible for KMS to be able to hit it properly. But this is like, hopefully that illustrates like the importance of IED. And sometimes people will go very hard on like, I want all the critical damage, I want all of the boss damage, and then they kind of ignore sometimes the critical rate and then also the IED. And because it doesn't really show up in your numbers when you're mobbing, and it also doesn't show up in your damage range, but the whole concept, I think this all illustrates, right, is that the concept of like your damage range is kind of like outdated, right? Whatever number shows up there doesn't really help you much. Does that follow, or does that?
Yeah, that follows. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because, well, next to that, the other thing that you do your dailies for, right? Arcane Symbol and your boost nodes to boost your existing skills. None of that shows up in your damage range either.
Okay.
Right, because that's final damage that's applied on hit, and just like IED, that's not taken into calculation with anything because it depends on what skill you use, and the game can't know that before you use it. So it's all applied on hit, so it's all not taken into account. So when someone comes up to you and is like, oh, I have 4 mil range, tells you absolutely nothing. Even if they're the same class as you, you can't do anything with that information. Do you have like level 60 boost nodes, or do you have level 1 boost nodes? Because if so, I can probably triple your damage. If I have enough arcane power and high boost nodes, and I have a critical rate, a high critical damage, I can do triple your damage with half your range. You have just no clue, right? So this is also why the progression grid, why the progression grid exists, is because something needs to replace damage range, right? You need to get some kind of idea of how strong am I. So therefore, if you can fall within these parameters of all of these stats, you can use your level. as a more accurate describer. A lot of people will use main stat, but as you will see, the variance is very high in the beginning, right? So just because someone says like, oh, I'm 25k stat, what's possible is that they just have like insanely good potential and maybe high arcane power, but maybe everything else is garbage. So they could still be doing less damage than you. So the only true placeholder for range is like asking someone all of this, and then or basically doing like one of these gear progressions with them, and then you'll be able to like more accurately gauge like how strong is their character and how well are they doing in the game.
Okay.
But yeah, people like to have placeholders to kind of gauge, how well are they doing. So let's hope that we can. After this, you can more accurately gauge like where are you at and where do you have the most room for improvement. But hopefully, all of this extra information has shed a bit more light on like the importance and the balance of things.
Yeah.
Because part of that, and that's why critical rate, IED, boss damage, critical damage, those stats being so important, that's why the Legion is so important, right? That's why people are saying you need to get 4K, you need to get 6K, you need to get 8K. It's not because it looks good, but it's because a lot of stats, between your hyper stats and Lynx and Legion, that's where most of that stuff comes from.
Sure.
All right. Let me catch my breath. That was a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a whole
A lot about IED.
expose. Yeah, but it's important to know that. I don't know if I was not explaining it as well as I
No,
could
that
be,
was
but
great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, so the other stuff that gives you a lot of damage, right, is the symbols. But you know all about the dailies. You know about the areas. They all have 2 dailies now.
Yeah, I do Urda, Mudo, and then like the zone dailies. And then I know like the dailies drop every time you unlock a new zone, right?
Yes.
Like you lose 1 daily per zone.
But so are you doing? But you do like Urda Spectrum, and you do the kill and the gather quests.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the kill quests in Chuchu and the hard Mudo PQ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So once you unlock Lachaline, you have Dream Defender, and then you also have kill quests in the hideout where the quest line will take you through the hideout, basically, where the guys with the mask all gather. So they will have some extra kill quests for you every day, and then the Dream Defender to the tower will... So typically, Lachaline levels up pretty slowly, because you start off, and in your case, probably start off pretty weak when you just are new to the area. So climbing the tower, the Dream Defender tower, is going to be pretty rough. And that's going to be the biggest determinant of how many symbols you get per day in that area. So if you think that in the next 3 months you can definitely make a lot of gains and possibly reach Asphera at 235, and you do have the level up potions, triple experience coupons that you can use for all of that. If you think that that's reasonably something you can do, then you would have my blessing to throw like a bunch of symbols, at least initially, into Lachaline. So you can get a head start there, so you can get a huge boost in arcane power, so that you can get a final damage boost, fighting the arcane required monsters in the area. So you can basically like fast track your progress to 235, unlock Asphera, and then throw the rest of your symbols into Asphera and Morass to get a lot of gains there. We're kind of skipping over Arcana here, but Arcana has like 2 dailies as well, and has 8 just from the daily kill quests, and then another 10 that you can get from the PQ. So that's like, if you do the PQ well immediately, you can get 18 symbols a day from starting at the first day. Whereas Lachaline, you start with 4 from the kill quests, and then 1 extra after doing Dream Defender, and then Dream Defender itself, you get... you know how Dream Defender works?
No, I haven't.
So basically you just you spawn into a map. There's it's like a cross of maps, like 5 maps in a cross shape, right? Like 3 blocks of 3 like intersected in the middle, right? And then 2 of them have a non-corrupted music box, and 3 have a corrupted music box. And you basically want to make sure that the amount of non-corrupted exceeds the amount of corrupted, so that the bar moves towards non-corruption, and then when it reaches that side, then you clear the map and you can go to the next one. And at the beginning it's super easy. The boxes are super weak. The monsters that try to corrupt the boxes are super weak. You just blow through it, but they get progressively stronger and stronger and stronger, and everything in there is also boss monsters. So IED boss damage is also pretty important in there. And And then with every 10 floors that you clear, so you have to clear at floor 10, at 20, at 30, etc., you get like a save point, so that the next time you go in, you can start from that save point and move on from there. So the first day, you're probably going to spend like half an hour or something in there to climb as far as you can. And then, basically once you run into a huge wall, what'll happen is that the next time you just go in, you go to the highest decimal, make sure that you have, or multiple of 10, I mean. You go in with a lot of buffs, and then you just clear that one, and then go out afterwards. Make sure you clear at least one floor, because if you don't clear any floors, you don't get anything. But depending on what the floor is that you clear, you get that many points as the number of the floor that you cleared. So if you clear 30, you get 30 coins, and then you can, per 30 coins, you can get one symbol. So if you get to 30 and you can't reach 40, and you clear 33 times, you'll get 3 coins, 1 bonus from talking to the NPCs, and then the 4 extra, so you get 8. Which is like the base number from just the kill quest in the next area. And then if you do Spirit Savior well, you can get another 10, which is like a whole other minigame. It's good times. I have a video on that as well. It's not as it's a little rough in the beginning because the area is not an arcane power map, so you don't get your bonus damage from arcane power in there. So in the beginning it can be a little bit hard killing the monsters quickly, and there's like a big spirit that chases you, so the longer you take to kill the vines to save the spirits, the more chance there is that they catch up to you. So that's a bit tricky in the beginning as well. But as you get stronger, and as you learn how to navigate the map better, that one's way more reliable to get to high numbers. Whereas in Dream Defender, if you want to get the same amount, you need like 13 coins a day, which means you have to clear floor 130 in Dream Defender. That's like what the very strongest people in the entire server clear, basically. So like the amount that you can get in that area is going to be lower, so it's going to take longer to max the area. So therefore I think there's definitely good value in using some of the symbol selector coupons there to kind of like give yourself a head start.
Oh, like when I unlock the symbol, just boost it to like level 3 or 4 or something?
There's like 1,000 as compensation, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's like outlandish, just throw like 200 at it or something.
Okay.
It'll be expensive though, right? So make sure you have the money and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that still leaves like 400 for Morass and Asphera each, which if you're power leveling through, that will extend them past Lecheline. But then eventually Lecheline will start getting faster and faster as you go to higher floors, and then it'll slowly catch up to Morass and Asphera again. Because Morass and Asphera are linked to just one kill gather quest, with just at most 8 symbols per day for each of those areas, and then that's it. So those will take the longest to max up. So ideally, that's where you want to throw the most symbols out.
Okay.
And then the other thing that gives all the extra final damage is the V Matrix. So let's look at that now.
Wait, just to confirm, you said the hardest one is the Lecheline and Morass, and I should be focusing the coupon selection on that, right?
So the slowest will be Asphera, right? Because you unlock it last, and it can only get 8 a day. So that'll be the slowest. And then the second slowest typically is Morass, because you can only get up to 8 a day there as well. And you unlock it as the second latest. And then the third slowest will be Lecheline, because technically, if you don't do any Dream Defender, or technically you can only get 4 a day. You have to already do Dream Defender to get at least 1 extra, and then depending on how well you do Dream Defender, you can get more. So your base number is only 5, and then depending on how far you clear, you can get up to 8 pretty easily. But then building up from there is basically you can get 1 extra symbol a day if you go to the next 10 floors, right? Because then you get 10 coins for every run extra, so 30 in total. So you get 1 more coin per day. So that's a pretty slow climb. So I think in general, for an account in your situation, it's probably a good idea to throw some at Lecheline to give yourself a head start, to get to the other areas quicker, and then kind of like probably like equalize Morass and Asphera, and then slowly Lecheline will catch up to it.
Okay.
And then, so the other thing that gives a lot of final damage that will be very, very important to your damage output, and together with, IED and all of that, will make it so that you can just dumpster CRA, is going to be your V Matrix. So to which extent do you feel like you're on top of this?
I feel like I don't have enough drop to get like nodes efficiently when I'm grinding. Like if I have a Fury Totem up and my Familiar up, I usually pop like a Legion drop. I'll get like 10, 12 in like 2 hours. And then I'm still having issues getting like the perfect trios on HoYoung. I joined a HoYoung Discord and I had like the wrong nodes leveled up, so I'm trying to work on fixing that.
And is it do you have the old Spider Familiar? Is that the one you have?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So do you know what kind of what kind of boost nodes you're looking for now? Is it a bit more clear?
The humanity, Earth, Heaven, and then I need clone, vortex, and the fireball.
Well, I think what HoYoungs typically say is you just need everything.
Yeah, that's it.
But of course, you don't really have access to put everything. There's this link I have. Someone might have sent it already to you, but I'll send it to you just in case. It's just like a nice visualization and like a just overall like a more fun way, I guess, of just keeping track of if you have everything. What I'll say with this is, in general, the further you like lock in a boost node in your head, like, okay, this one has the 3 that I want, so I need this one, and the more you start building around that one, the more you start eliminating possible other opportunities to hit your max combination of all the nodes you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I figured that out on my own. I was like, why am I waiting for the perfect trio when I could just mix and match and get what I want?
exactly. So what is the most important is which skill is mentioned first in the boost node, right? Your top on your boost node. That's the most important one, because that one you can't really deviate from that, right? Because then you have to extract and you lose all the efficiency. But if you find the perfect setup that has those starting nodes that you already have leveled up, all you have to do is just take your level 8 node, shove it into the level 1, and just level that one up, and then just switch which one you have equipped, right? That way you don't lose any of the efficiency of your boost nodes. So
yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah.
When I get like a better one. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's all right. So I think you're on the right track with that. I don't. If you have any other questions for Matrix, otherwise I think your setup looks pretty fine.
So when I get like useless special nodes, just disenchant them or disassemble them and dump it into like Holy Blessing.
The special nodes, yeah, the only special node you would like consider using at this point would be like character building 1. That's like an experience node, so if you're planning on like doing some hard training sessions and stuff, you can get some extra mileage out of that. But pretty much all the special nodes, yeah, you just immediately just disassemble, get rid of them.
And for will, like the Urda will and the shower, I could just disassemble those too.
Yeah, so I believe
Venom Burst.
Yeah, so I believe Venom Burst you can get rid of. I think Urda Shower you can get rid of as well. I see very, very little utility for very few classes in that. Decent Advanced Blessing you can get rid of. Decent Hyper Body you can get rid of. Blink you can get rid of. And probably Rope Lift, because you have the Cloud, right? The Nimbus.
Yeah.
I see so little utility for Rope Lift on a HoYoung, personally. You could keep like level 1.
Right? Because I have will. I have my own will.
Yeah, later in the game, we're talking Black Mage now, or like Gloom and Chaos Gloom. There are situations where having access to multiple will skills can be useful, and you might want to level it up as well. Urda Shower is usually useful in VC3 to min-max. What kind of percentage of min-maxing are we talking about, Kala? Kala's like my resident HoYoung in the chat, so he gives us some more concept. I think you can use Urda Shower, but do you really level it up? Because I don't know. I feel like you'll probably get like a level 1 Urda Shower down the road anyway, and then you can use it, but we're talking 2 to 3 mobs every 15 seconds. I mean, that's something, I guess, but if even that. Yeah, I mean, you probably get a level 1 later by the time you get to 245, and then you could just incorporate it then if you have enough room. Yeah, I would keep in general, I would keep the will one. I would keep that one.
Okay.
But yeah.
I don't need blessing.
No, that's like a min-maxy thing. Once you're like in your 270s and there's so many slots you don't even know what to put in there, then like Decent Advanced Blessing is like, hey, what about me? And then you pick that one basically. But until then, there's so many useful things, and you want like 6 boost nodes as well, right? So there's like 3 more spots for that. Then there's Speed Infusion. Then there's probably decent combat orders. Then there's, God, isn't there like a common thief one?
Oh yeah, it's like purple. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, there's like 1 or 2 more of those that go in there. And then there's the anima one, right? The Lost Resort.
Yeah, the Grandest Blessing.
Yeah, and then the Grandest Blessing. So at this point we're like 225, 230, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So like around level 260 is when you're like, oh, maybe Decent Advanced Blessing can like, right? So this is so far down the road. And even then, leveling it up is also not that necessary, so.
But it was Last Resort was the Common Thief when you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it gives you like a bunch of final damage, but it does come at the cost of like some avoidability and defense drop. So that might, it's a little bit like, it's like a high risk, high reward glass cannon kind of skill. So, while the boss is bound and you go crazy basically. And that's why HoYoung has such crazy burst. Yeah, but it's mainly going to be like just dumping in boost nodes now and getting all those crazy levels. I do see that you have a little bit of the slot enhancement is a little bit like divided right now. It's probably best for now to keep that unified on the slots where you have boost nodes in, just because of the final damage. And you'll just want to level up individual slots up to level 5, and then just go one slot at a time, and then put the boost nodes into those slots, and start there. And then later on you can start throwing in, if you have more slots to level up, you can put Holy Symbol in one, and maybe whichever 5th job skill you use the most or gives you the most damage, put that in one. But the boost nodes are going to be the most important now, because it's basically like 5 free levels on a new boost node if it has the right skills that you want, right? Which is 10% final damage, like boom, instantly.
Okay. Yeah, I just reset it and
yep.
what you said.
Yeah, so you talked about making nodes for Holy Symbol. I think what is the best thing for you to do for HoYoung, because you have so many boost nodes that you want to get to, and you have so many good skill nodes, is the best thing for you to do with shards is to create boost nodes. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I've been doing that.
Yeah, so I think that's the best thing you can do. So you just keep doing that, and you'll have so many boost nodes coming out of that as well. Sorry, create node stones is what I meant. My bad. Have you done that?
Oh, like make random node stones?
Yes.
No, I've been making like specific boost nodes.
Yeah, so because you have so many outs, right? You have so many options of good stuff, and you have so many link skills that can be good. I think creating node stones is the best for you, because they only cost 35 shards. So if you get a boost node that you want, you get double the value. If you get a skill node you want, you get 4 times the value. If you get a special node, you still get more value back. The only loss is if you get a boost node with a skill that you don't need, which is very few. So the overall return there is going to be the highest for you.
Sure, okay. I'll make that change.
Cool, yeah. But in general, you know where to go. I linked you to things, so I think you're good on that part, right? With the boost nodes and everything?
Yeah.
Awesome, okay. Yeah, so what link skills you select, we didn't go into that too much. You probably have like kind of a general setup regardless of what you do now, because you have like limited access anyway. Yeah, I think
only have 12, so I just use all 12 that I have.
Exactly, yeah, that's perfectly normal in the beginning. So ideally, of course, when you're mobbing, some things are unnecessary, right? So it's specifically like Light Wash and Thief's Cunning don't really do much at all when you're mobbing, right? What you want to get is the things that give you 100% uptime damage increase. You want to apply those when you're mobbing. And when it comes to bossing, you want to make sure that you have all of the critical rate you need, all of the ID that you need, and then any kind of big percentage hits and possible utility. So that goes into stuff like the Miha link skill and the resistance link skill. Once you start doing CRA and up, the resistance link skill is pretty useful. So, but that's in the blue area in the link grid, right?
Yeah.
So that's the immunity to damage upon respawn. That's very useful in bosses like HMAG, for example, or even in CVAL. You know, when there's a bunch of tails going on, you don't want to have to like time your respawn like you're doing jump rope, like skip rope in the playground, so you don't like walk in and smack your head into the rope immediately, because that's gonna happen. Because those tails, man, they're they're everywhere.
Does the resistance also, like when you start a boss fight and spawn in, like on Golix, like sometimes I'll just spawn in Golix and just get one shot, like because of lag?
No, it's only after death.
Death? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So right after that happens, that's when we get the seconds, yeah. And those link skills stack together in the similar way that the Thief's Cunning ones do. So that goes up to 8 seconds into one slot, so you don't have to it doesn't occupy like 4 slots. So It's really nice.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think I think you get the general order now and the general value of the stats, right? So whichever things you equip first and whichever things you equip last, I think is pretty. I think you have that.
Like,
right?
when I'm mobbing, you want like the EXP buffs and the 100% uptime, and then bossing is mostly like what's gonna keep like do the most damage and the utility stuff.
Yeah, like just to check, like let's say that you had like access to all of the link skills and you want to have the best setup for bossing. If you look at your current setup, like what would be the first the first 3 to like go out immediately when you're bossing?
The first 3 to go out: Elven Blessing, Combo, and Rune.
And then after that, would you remove anything after that?
Uh, the Cygnus Blessing's kind of useless, and the Pirate Blessing's kind of useless.
Yeah, so that's immediately like 5 slots that you can multiply. If you had to remove any past that, which one do you think would go first past that? It gets harder, of course, as we eliminate more.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know Judgment's like top tier for the crit damage, Light Wash for the IED, Phantom for the crit. I guess Thief's Cunning would be like the weakest.
Yeah, and after that one, now it's getting really tricky.
Solus.
Yeah, but because it's level 1, right?
Yeah.
If Solus was level 2?
Solus is level 2. Is it at 6% damage? So I guess Wild Rage or Elementalism?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because then Solus would go up to 11, and then Elementalism would technically lose out. And Wild Rage is also at 10, but Wild Rage can go up to 15. And like the Demon Slayer one, for example, is really good because it's already at 15 at level 2 and then goes up to 20% at level 3. So that's when those guys start coming in, the big damage boys. And then if you're party bossing, Adele comes in. If you're soloing, it's not very good. You know, it becomes more and more situational then. But as your Legion grows, you'll slowly start switching things out. And I am confident you have a decent enough understanding to see like where to start mixing things. Okay, that was just a double check. That was just a little pop quiz in between. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We didn't really go over hyper stats.
I reset them. My like crit rate was like over 100 with Sharp Eyes, so like the 10 on crit rate was kind of useless.
Right. Okay. So how low is it now? Is it down to like 7
so
or 8?
I'm at 0 and it's at 88% unbuffed with Sharp Eyes at 98%.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
Should I boost it to 100 and then just drop Sharp Eyes and put more boost nodes in?
So it's a giant puzzle, right? So the puzzle pieces right now, further in the game, it would be like put in the crit rate and drop the Phantom Link would be like the thing to move towards. But since you don't really have other link skills to put in anyway, and like we just talked about the other things that you can put in, there's so much else to replace first. That's something you don't have to worry about at all. I would definitely put at least 2 points in so you can reach 100.
Okay.
Because, you know, you don't want to, like, in every rotation have like 2 or 3 monsters that like stay up because they happen to get hit by a non-crit line and then they just survive. That's just annoying as fuck. So then you have 2 points in crit rate, right? And where are the other points at right now?
They're at 0.
Okay. So you want to have enough arcane force so that you can get your arcane power high enough to be able to get your plus 50% bonus damage, hopefully in the area that you're training at, right? So how much do you need? How much do you need for that right now? Well, it's to say we might have to wait until you do like get through. Get through the prequest, and then if you dump some arcane symbols into it. There's a good chance that you'll immediately hit that just because of the extra levels that you get for free, basically, right?
Yeah.
Because new area, what's the requirement in a new area? It should be like
first map.
Like 120, 140, or God, I'm so bad with this.
I'm at 220, and the highest
it's
map
210.
is like 220 or 240.
It starts at 210 up to 190. It starts with 190. Yeah.
190 to 240, so I'm like 30 arcane powers short to actually hit the mobs.
Yeah, so you'll probably be at the I think you'll be at the right branch of the maps here, where it's like 210. So like to deal 50% more final damage, you need 50% more, right? So you'll need 315. Which you don't have the new symbol yet, so that's 30 immediately. Which 6,
So I need
5?
like 65 more. And with 200 symbols, what level does that boost it to?
It's more than 6 levels. Like I think 50 already is the first 3 levels, and then yeah, you'll be fine. I don't think you need any extra in there. I think you'll be good. Which means that all the rests can go like evenly. So remember, right? If you're doing the Dream Defender daily as well, those are boss monsters, so boss damage will help there. So you probably just want to evenly level up critical damage, IED, and boss damage and damage, like all evenly together. So probably all to roughly. You can definitely get all to 7, and then 3 to 8, I think, and then have some points left. I don't know. I'm trying to like. I don't know. Usually I'm kind of close to that. I don't think you can get all of them to 8. Maybe one will be stuck at 7 and all the other at 8. But if you can, yeah, that'll be the goal. Like get all of them to 8, and then after that, slowly work them all up to 10, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and then usually for a new area, you like reassess to see if you need to readjust your arcane power. But for you, hopefully, you know, with the levels and with the extra symbols, you get enough of a boost to immediately be able to go into the next area without getting like a huge tanking of your damage. If you do, you could decide to throw like a bit more symbols into it, because you have 1,000, right? So as long as you kind of divide them evenly between Isfera Morass and between Lachaline, you'll be fine. And it won't be that bad of an idea to go a little bit harder in the beginning, because it gives you a lot of stat as well, which will help you climb the tower faster to increase your daily amount of symbols that you get from Lachaline. So it's not a bad idea, and will also get you to the point where you can do Spirit Savior easily, right? That I talked about, so you can kill the roots a bit faster to save the spirits, and that'll help you guarantee those 10 symbols a day from that as well, so you don't have to spend any in Arcana.
So crit, the end goal is, well, the goal right now would be crit damage, ignore IED, and boss damage to 10.
I would divide it evenly between those 3 and damage as well. So just those 4 stats under crit rate, basically. It's usually the block of like crit rate, crit damage, ignore defense, damage, boss damage. That's typically where everything goes for like a long time. The exception now is that arcane power can be used to give you extra final damage, which is like the best damage multiplier, right? So that one would take precedent, but because of your current situation, we don't need to take that one into account. So as long as you have the crit rate to get to 100, then just evenly distribute between the 4 stats underneath that, basically.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I don't do. Kala, what do you think about inner ability? Have you talked to anyone about the inner ability? Anyone in the HoYoung Discord?
No, but I looked at your chart. I think buff skill duration, the reason why I wanted it was for Tiger, but it doesn't affect Fifth Job, right?
No, it does not affect 5th job, correct.
Yeah. I just don't have the money to blow on circulators to get to.
Yeah, no, exactly. What some people do is if you don't really need any of the stats really, really desperately, they'll just like circulate into legendary and then just roll a few times to try to get like 20% mezzo, and then just hold on to that, and then just save up honor experience, save up money until there's some kind of event or something, and then kind of go harder on that. For training, yeah, 20% mezzo, maybe some buff duration or drop rate, and then passives 20 crit 38. But yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So yeah, I probably wouldn't touch the inner ability right now. But that is something to kind of think about when you have a little bit more funds lying around. It's especially when you really, like, let's say you do the thing, right? You get up to 235 to unlock a Sphera, you have a bunch of dailies, and, you know, your Legion is starting to grow, and you want to spend more time just grinding out. Like, let's say you want to reach 250. That's, like, the point where you want to, and we'll get into the quips in a little bit, that's when you want to start looking at, like, okay, do I want to get, like, a lot of mezzo obtained, drop rate to make sure that I make more money while I'm training? Because at that point, you have so much final damage between your boost nodes and your symbols. And, you know, your critical damage, all that stuff, that the exact stats on your equips are pretty unimportant. What's more important is that the potential can give you just more money and more items to drop with the same amount of kill speed, right? You won't really lose kill speed there just for downgrading to weaker equips. Because the main reason you get those super strong equips is because of the set bonuses from Gollux and like the boss damage, the IED, those kind of things, so that you can min-max on bosses. But on regular monsters, what really matters there is, do you have the arcane power? Do you have the boost nodes?
Okay.
So at that point,
Yeah, my question was gonna be like, when do I start going for like drop gear?
yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But together with that, just to tie that together, the inner ability will kind of like go in tandem with that, where you also get like some buff duration. Sorry, not some buff duration, some meso obtain in there, so you can just increase your gains as well. And then at the end, once you're kind of like done with that scenario, maybe you're done training for a while, then you can be like, okay, do I want to min-max it now for the bossing situation again? Or, do I still want to just keep on training and just do I just keep what I have,
Okay.
Yes, so specifically for the equips. So the general order in which we like want to look at things and upgrade things is weapon secondary and emblem, first and foremost. Then we look at your accessories, and then we just go from high level items to low level items, basically. General rule. So start with the weapon secondary and emblem. So you have the Oofbra right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you lost the IED line, but you gained the boss damage line. So your boss damage is like up to what, 120% now?
After the hypers, it's at 151.
Oh, okay, cool.
I
Yep, no, that's good, that's good. And the emblem and the secondary are still the same, like in the picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm working towards Pinot.
Right, okay, so you don't want to go too hard in secondary. Gotcha, okay. Are you close to that? Do you do that with your guild as well, or?
Doing it with my brother.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. All right, and then
Drop
your
rate on those emblems is low as fuck.
yeah, it's not great. It's probably like, if you're doing it, it's probably like 4, maybe 5 weeks even, right, to get them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. I've noticed that. Usually now I take like one person with me at most, so they can at least get some tickets. Because if you take 2, maybe, but if you take 2 or 3 people, they're like, oh, I got 2, and it's like, ugh, that's not great. Probably
Yeah.
better to find someone else to go do it with, because it really slows down your progress, actually. Okay, so we won't touch the secondary very much, because like 9% luck, 6% attack, that's a pretty decent placeholder until you can get that anyway. So I'm not going to make you like spend any more money on that. Emblem-wise, so this ties back into the calculation that we did for the IED, right? Because here you were visually at 83, so you're visually lower now?
Yeah. Well, after hyper, visually, I'm at 83. Yeah.
Okay, so it goes to the same. Okay, cool. So what do you get functionally? You don't get boost nodes yet. You do have the passive hyper, right? Does that apply to most of your skills?
Which one?
So when you go to your passive hyper skills, I think it's the second one from the top. Anything that has like the little blue shield thing, that's IED. So that one, I think it's a 20% line.
I don't have it. Piercing Harmony, 15% IED.
Oh, 15%, yeah. Wait, you don't have that one?
No, the HoYoung Discord I was on said something like you don't need it, but I guess that's like late game where you're already almost capped on IED.
Yeah, like the statement "you don't need it," I would always ask follow up, like,
Well, yeah,
well,
why?
because it depends on your well, yeah, why, or also it depends on your like, it's very possible that maybe it only works on some skills that you don't really use that much, therefore it's not very useful. But let's say that you had like 10% IED, then maybe you need all the IED you can get, right? So like a general statement as "you don't need it," we'll always be careful and always ask follow-ups like, why do you say that, right? Wait, so Kala says Piercing Harmony works on elemental skills. So what does that mean specifically? Does that mean that it doesn't work on, what does elemental skills mean?
It only works on like the first job and second job skills, like the fan and the earth and the heaven and then the
Yeah, like the color border, right? That's what determines that, I think. Yeah. So if those are skills that you don't use as much, then there would be reduced value in that for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Those are the main bossing.
Oh,
skills.
if those are the main bossing skills, then someone with low IED would need that, right? So a statement like "you don't need that" isn't.
Well, it says.
Yeah.
Well, it said if IED is low, so I assume mine is extremely low.
Yeah. Well, so part of that is also like the sources of IED, right? And I tie back to this. One of the major things that I don't know if you have, because they're not in the screenshots, is your familiars. Do you have anything in ways of familiars?
No, I need like a guide on how to actually do that.
Yeah, sure. So you just have the spider and maybe like an old little healing familiar or something, and that's probably about it.
I have a couple spiders, and I have like a +1 attack, 2% total damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's something. So like we said before, right? Like a little bit of IED in the beginning could be way more impactful to your damage, even though it doesn't increase any range. It might actually increase your output to like bossing a lot. So similar to the metal, familiars early on is where the opportunity cost for loss of damage is pretty much zero, and the potential gain for IED in damage output is insane. So in general, if you're training in mules, in certain areas you'll get a bunch of familiar cards, right? Like from Drakes you'll get some, wherever you're training you'll get a few here and there, right? So make sure you loot all of those and just transfer them all over to your HoYoung and open them all up on the HoYoung and try to find 15% IED lines, because you can get 15% IED from just the lowest rarity. The common ones, they can give you 15% IED lines.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, and if you just unlock one badge, and I linked you my familiar guide, if you unlock just one badge, you can get a second slot for the familiar available, so then you can equip 2 at once. So you can get 2 lines of 15% ID from that. Now,
I recently did the Lion King badge.
Okay, good. Oh yeah, that's one of the better ones to do as well, so that's pretty good, yeah. So I think the IED hyper is probably a good one to have right now. Harmony hypers are personal preference. 3 mandatory hyper passives, the rest are optional. Okay. But yeah, so 2 15% ID familiars would be really, really good now, especially if you want to start doing CRA, right? Because remember, 100%, they have 100% PDR. So if you're blocking, 80% versus if you get closer to 90%, that's like instead of doing 80% of your damage, you're doing 90% of your damage, so you're increasing your damage by more than 10% versus, from the first situation to the second situation, right? So that does make everything quite a bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah, so so that's under ID. I guess I'll link you that one specifically as well, so you can look a little bit at what are all the sources that you can look at. I don't know if there's anything specifically here that I should go over. Oh yeah, you do have that debuff, I think, right under there's like a boss debuff you have that transforms non-bosses and gives minus IED. That's something to weave in, like corruption or something, or contamination, something like that. I don't know the exact name. You know what I'm talking about? It's a hyper skill, I believe.
Hyper skill?
Yeah. You probably don't use it much at all. It's pretty much only useful for bossing. Is it something like that, like corruption or contamination or corrosion or something like that?
Oh, degeneration. Yeah.
There you go. Close enough. Yeah. I think you use that on. You don't use degeneration for its damage, so it's really not worth it. Okay. Well, Kala says it's not worth using. Okay, good.
Yeah, you just pop it once for the debuff on the boss.
Yeah. Does it ever lose the debuff? I'm feeling like it might kind of work like Grave Proclamation on the Adele or something, where it's technically a debuff forever, but sometimes it just randomly disappears.
Oh, it's like a minute. Normal enemies only. Oh, that's the transform. Oh,
yeah.
Only if they can get transformed.
No, the wording is bad. Basically, it works on everyone, but they transform if they're not bosses. Is how it works. But it's worded a little bit weirdly, where it sounds like it only works on non-bosses, right?
Yeah.
Or only when it's it's worded wrong.
Well, it says boss monsters cannot be transformed, and then it says transformation enemy def -20.
Yeah, exactly.
Normal enemies only in parentheses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it does work on bosses.
So it does work on bosses, yeah, because otherwise the IED debuff would be pretty shit. You don't use it. Wait, you don't use the degen for damage, so it's not worth it. You use it for the IED. Okay, IED debuff is damage to me. Okay, Kala, don't don't say that. We get damage from IED being dropped on bosses. Okay. It's important. The weird smiley face is the debuff icon for bosses. Yeah. So if this keeps 100% uptime, you can also include this into the calculation that we talked about before, right? Although this might be something that's not, maybe initially you don't want to include that because it might be harder for you to incorporate that into the rotation and already having to deal with how do what are the hitboxes of the skills, and you're getting used to the mechanics. But as you get more into more in control of the whole boss fight, basically in control of your character, then you can start incorporating this into your calculations as like a guaranteed debuff as well.
Okay.
So that's another source that starts off as being non-reliant to becoming reliant later on. Miko mentioned degeneration damage hyper. Damage hyper. Okay. Okay, you're responding to someone else. Good, good, good. All right. Okay, specifically about the equips. With all that in mind, okay, I guess we specifically. Okay, how can we tackle this? So, are there any pieces of equips where you're like completely no clue where to go? Because we did WSC, right? Oh yeah. We started with WSC. So the emblem is really big. Sorry to cut you off. Attack percentage is like super important, right?
So the emblem, the potential's good, or should I re-roll it?
So, okay, I'm thinking how facetious I want to be. Like, technically, how good it is depends on how good everything else is, right? Because if everything else is rare, then this is amazing. If everything else is already like unique with 15%, then maybe this could use some upgrading, right? So it's all kind of relative, because depending on how much money you have to spend on something else to make it better, blah 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 blah. So if I look at everything else, cursory, so we have like mostly epic, but with good percentages. Except for the earrings, I guess. The MP percentage isn't really doing much for you. 2, 4.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to occult cube it to like 9 to 6%. I just can't hit it.
Yeah, no. Sometimes, dude, I've done it on all of my characters now, and like some items is just like 2 cubes done, and then my worst item was like 850 cubes to hit 9%. I was like, bro, this is not a good time. Yeah. See that your hat is already legendary. General rule of thumb is you probably want to keep the CRA unique pretty long compared to other items, because they get a lot of junk lines in legendary. I don't know how many cubes you've already thrown at the hat, but there's a lot of really bad stuff that rolls out. And generally, just keeping them unique will give you a better return for your money for quite a while, until everything else is basically legendary. So to take it back, like WSE, then your accessories, and then high level equips down to low equips, right?
Okay, so I have a bunch of cubes that are expiring, like event ring cubes, and like master craftsman cubes, and 1 meister cube. Should I be rolling accessories? See, I don't know how to replace the platinum cross ring for like a potable ring. Like, that's where I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, because you're like in between the events now.
Yeah. I was thinking synergy ring next time the event comes out.
There's Golix rings are of course like a little bit of a annoying thing to get to.
I can buy a reinforced ring soon, or a solid ring.
Yeah,
I can buy one right now.
I wouldn't slow down the progress towards superior ever. I would just like fast track to trying to get 4 sets superior. That's like the main goal for that whole content. And then getting extra rings and stuff. Yeah. No. So stick to that course. When it comes to rings, you can get what is it, guys? Like John's treasure ring or something. What is it called? There's like treasure hunter John's. That's the one. It's in New Leaf City. There's like a quest line. It's pretty short, and it gives you a ring that can get potential and Star Force. So that could be a placeholder that you can start getting some lines on if you want to.
Is the Von Leon like the boss ring, the IFA's ring?
Yeah, so you have like a base ring, and then you can upgrade it to the Iphia's ring for the set bonus. I've never personally done that ever. If you're trying to get like the full 9 accessory run going,
I think the Von Leon ring will put me at 9. Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me look at your other stuff.
Yeah, I have 8 right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, because you're using the 3 set. Yeah. Right. Yeah, you would need that if you want to maintain the current set bonus for the Hayato or the Sengoku set as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to keep that. Okay. Yeah, you could do that. Or the Treasure Hunter John one, whichever one you want to get.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then the whole meme, I guess, is once you have at least 6 and 9% on like everything. Yeah, the emblem is like this. The lines all do something, but 2 of them don't really do all that much. Because percentage attack is just so good. I'd probably still work on the accessories first, yeah. So there's the three different ways, right? There's star forcing, there's cubing, and there's flaming, right? Those are like the three main ways of upgrading. When it comes to star forcing, 30% off events are really good to get to 15. I think you already mentioned that, right? That you want. Oh no, that was someone else who was talking about 30%
Oh
off.
no, I'm gonna wait for the event too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm holding off on.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. 6. Let me just imprint all of the stats on the items kind of into my brain so I can, so I don't have to like recheck the whole time. And then after today I'll forget it like forever. So don't come back like tomorrow. Be like, hey, remember my cape? And they'll be completely forgotten by then. But for now, I'll like remember all of them. Okay. 16,
So what should I be going for? Like a higher flame score on some pieces of gear, or just keep it?
If you have like a few hundred from compensation lying around, how many points did you get from that?
Not many. Like I got like 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's not
my honor one was bugged. Like it says I have none, even though like I rolled to unique and I've rolled like the bottom lines back then like a lot.
I know the circulators is only at legendary. Does anyone know if for honor roll re-rolling if that was only at legendary as well, or was that just total amount of honor spent? Because the compensation for honor is bugged right now. It's not correct. But if you have absolutely 0, I don't know if it's going to go up from where you are right now.
Okay.
It's at so exclusively at legendary bow scopes, because that might be why then. If it's not legendary yet, that might be why. Yeah, that's kind of weird, I guess, why they wouldn't just incorporate all, but okay, Boscope says it is, yeah, okay. If you're wrong, I'm coming for you, Boscopes, but no, okay, I trust you. Okay, yeah, so probably would be getting all the accessories, setting aside enough money, but that's like April 4th or something, right? The 30% off, so that's quite a ways away. So I think it would be accessories, yeah. So try to aim for 4 accessories with drop rate, 5 with Mezzo, and then hopefully, most of them will have a line of luck alongside of it so that you don't really downgrade too much in total percentage of luck. Because like what I said before, once all your boost nodes, your arcane power, once all of that is set, the quality of the equips, the base stats of the equips isn't that important anymore. You can just downgrade quite a lot and still one-shot. But early on, you still want to hold on to a little bit of damage as well, so that, if you have 9 equips, all of them have 9% stat, that's 81% luck that you're just, like, not letting go of by switching to utility on the accessories. And early on, that's pretty fucking important. So, anything that you roll, like, if you roll 5 items with drop, for example, then just pick whichever item that has drop on it that doesn't have stat on it as well, and then re-roll that one for Mezzo, and kind of just like go through your accessories like that. I wouldn't fine-tune drop or Mezzo plus luck immediately on all of them, because that might get disproportionately expensive compared to just making money with those first and then min-maxing that later.
I want 5. How many accessories with drop in Mezzo?
So the most Mezzo obtain you can get from all of your equips combined is 100%.
Okay, so 5.
So 5 lines, and then you basically just fill whichever is left with drop rate to get as many, to get more bags to drop, to get more nodes to drop. That kind of, maybe some droplets, maybe some symbols, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then the most amount of drop rate you can get from all of your equips is 200%. So that's 10 lines in total. So later on, people will go for like. Maybe 1 item with double drop and then 1 line of drop on all 9 accessories, and then switch into that when you're specifically bossing, for example, to increase nodes when you're maybe just doing a quest and you're not really training much, but mostly during bossing when you want to get more cubes, flames, soul shards, that kind of stuff.
So Mezzo's higher priority than drop?
Both is important, but because you already have the spider familiar, even if you have just like 1 line of drop or you're using a coupon, you already have a 100% chance that a bag drops. And then what's most important is putting as much money in the bag as possible. The extra drop rate is more to min-max to get more nodes, more symbols, and more droplets.
Okay. And so re-rolling these rings for drop is fine?
Yeah,
Not
because
the most.
you're making the jump from epic or like barely unique, right, to legendary. So the total amount of luck that you get from all of your accessories is gonna stay roughly the same or even go up. So that way you don't really lose damage, but you gain all of the utility of making more money with everything that you kill and getting more nodes that you're talking about before, right? That your drop rate is pretty low on that. So you have a higher chance of getting an extra Dominator pendant from Arc. Maybe once you get into CPAP and to start doing CRA, you'll get more pieces and more soul shards there for later on your boss fights. Maybe higher chance for a Papulatus mark once you start doing that. All of that will start helping your account move forward faster.
Okay. And so in terms of like the lines, just work on one ring at a time.
Yes.
Usually like the lower one. So I would do the Silver Blossom.
No, I would do the highest one first, so you can immediately start making money from the ring. If you get a Meso-Obtain line, whenever you're doing dailies or training, you can start making money faster and faster and faster, and then it'll like snowball into your income greatly increasing.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
because
like,
the highest
honoring
ones also already has the most invested, right? So it's the lowest cost to get to Legendary and get to the Meso-Obtain.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's and then after that would probably be the emblem. Try to aim for two lines of attack. That'll probably be the next one after that, and then probably the secondary. Depending on how long it takes you to get the Princess No secondary. In terms of potentials, you will need another pendant though, right? Because you can reroll this Dominator pendant. So
Yeah, I'm hoping to get an actual Dominator pendant from Mark. I do it every day.
Yep. Okay. No, that's great. That's great. And hopefully some primals and stuff.
Is crafting it like worth it?
Typically no, because of the access that you need to Meister. It's a little weird now though, because we can get the extra Kana treasure rings from Princess No. So there could be a situation where you're like crafting extra Dominators, but I think. Oh man, I think this is like late game when you're trying to get like a high Star Force Dominator to transfer hammer into your superior pendant to go for like above for 20 or plus on superior pendant, and you blew up all the Dominators you had, and your Meister is already high, or you're just using spare Kana treasure rings to transfer hammer into superior ring instead, so you don't really need to make the Meister rings, and then you throw your primals into extra Dominators instead. Something like that. I could see that being a situation, but we're pretty far down the line from where we are right now with that. So
all like my shards and like primal essences should be saved for Meister ring eventually.
Yeah, unless you're in that situation I just described, you're probably going to be making Meister rings. Yeah, you want to at least make one Meister ring to equip, right? But the old meta was like you make a second high star Meister to transfer into superior, right? So you don't have to risk booming that one. Which again technically isn't necessary because you can rebuy them, but we're talking 700 coins per oopsie, so that's quite a it's quite a big oopsie. And then Meister is more replaceable in that way, but what's even more replaceable than Meister now is the kind of treasure, if you can, once you get enough drop rate and everything. And you can do that weekly. Drop rate seems to be pretty okay with that. So that would be the other option, and then that would save you the primals there. But
so you could use Kana's treasure to transfer onto Meister, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to before. Oh, so yes, into superior. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that because it was not replaceable, right? It was a one thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's totally going to depend. You keep those options open, and it depends on how your drop goes. If you get 20 primals, you might do that. If you're like you're sitting on 20 primals and you still don't have a Dominator, you say fuck it, I'm going to make one. If you get a bunch of Kana treasures and you only have like 3 primals, then it's like, well, it's pretty obvious that I'll make Meister rings, but only for the one, and then I'll use the extra Kana treasures to transfer into the superior, that kind of thing.
Okay. And then in terms of commercy stuff, so I have like 400 dinero. Should I buy a tattoo? Should I buy a monocle?
So yeah, you're kind of at the cusp of like, do you hard commit into these accessories or do you move to the other ones? Generally that like depends on how hard someone goes with leveling and grinding and getting rich. So I don't think... Alright, so there's 2 main scenarios. I don't think it's bad to invest up to legendary for drop rate and meso in your, let's say the boss accessories, right? And then because mainly once you start going like past 15 stars up to 17, that's when the Sweetwater equips start really giving you a lot of stats. And also, if eventually you want to go past 17, I would advise like the second approach for doing the voyages in San Commercy. I don't know if you've seen that command already.
Yeah, I saw like the end game and the
Right,
mid
yeah.
game. Following it to
So
mid
if you're
game.
going, if someone is just like, okay, 17 is like my end game basically, I'm never going past that ever, then I would say just buy the accessories, start Star Forcing those instead. The way it works now though is that the set bonus for boss accessory set is actually good for quite a long time because you don't break it up with the Golix set until very far. So once you start going into the Golix set, that's when the Commercy accessories start coming in, and that's when you like pretty much switch like 90% of the boss set, for the other one.
So you're saying it's worth it to just invest in the boat to get more dinero faster?
Yes, that, and I think it's also worth to, in your situation, to invest into the Power Crystal and the Black Beam Mark now, to get the extra drop rate on Mezzo. Now, I wouldn't use them first, right? I would go through the other items first, through the rings and all this stuff. And then if by that time you don't have enough dineros to buy the other items, you can use these first. The one caveat is there's a possibility that you roll your current things for drop and that you end up with like rolling 30% luck on it or something, and then that really stinks. Because then you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's like the one kind of argument where people would say like you just hold off and just go like and buy the Sweetwater stuff, and then if you roll 30% luck there, you just buy another one, and then you roll that one for drop or mezzo. And if anyone ever gets stronger for one position, you just switch whichever one you recube, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the other one. So that's kind of like the determination you have to make. So if you want to make that decision easier for you, you can put that off a little bit, or at least put the eye in the face accessory down the line of accessories that you're going to be upgrading, and work on the other stuff first. And then maybe by that time, the problem will kind of solve itself, and you don't really have to resolve it right away.
Okay.
Cool. That all makes sense?
So I want to focus on Meso and drop rate on the rings first, then eye and face and earring.
Don't forget the pendants, Mechanator pendants, and then the earring, yeah. And then by that time, kind of see like where you are with the dineros. Maybe by that time,
just be upgrading boat too, just the boat upgrade get like net you more dinero per day.
So past a certain point, so I took into consideration like how much money you can make training and farming, how much money you save versus having to safeguard versus not having to safeguard, and how much time it takes you to do all the dailies in the different points, and how much your daily income is depending on if you upgraded your boat or not. Kind of taking all of that into account, basically coming to the conclusion that if you're aiming for 19 stars or higher eventually, that leveling up the boat first to level 3 and then just spamming the first voyage is mathematically just a better outcome.
Okay.
Because there's the third thing, right? Is once you get the pendant and you transpose that one into the Sweetwater one, you want to get replacements for that one as well, and that one's even more expensive than the eye in the face. So because there's 3 items to get backups for, it can get pretty expensive pretty quickly. And transposing itself costs the narrows as well. It's all like included in there.
Okay.
Cool. So that's Star Force and potential pretty much, I think, right?
Yeah.
I guess the one thing we didn't go over is
like the equips at like 9% and just focus on like drop and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to Star Force and potential on those items, make sure that you have a future plan of like how you're going to move towards the next equip, right? So that's mainly circled around like the accessories going into Golix, and then the equips that are going into Absolab, right? So there are some ways to transferring your current potential over into Abso,
yes.
right? Through 150 equips.
So I'm running Ranmaru every day for the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the lowest risk is. Since your set bonus for the... So you could kind of lose the flames for a bit. It'll depend on the schedule of everything. But like ideally, because Ranmaru has quite an easy way of getting a bunch of backups, right? So it doesn't matter what type of equip you transfer hammer into... sorry, the type matters, but the class of the equip doesn't matter, whatever you roll into the Absolab. but it doesn't matter in case it booms and you have a spell trace, right? Because then it has to be the exact same equip. So if you're running Rimuru a bunch, I would save everything initially, but try to save like whatever you have the most of one type, and preferably the thief ones, of course, because so much drops now. I think you can be pretty picky and just keep all the thief things and then just get rid of all the other stuff.
Okay.
And then either use a 30% off event to already get it to 15, right? And then wait for a 5, 10, 15, bump it to 16, transfer it over, bump it to 16 again, and then safeguard it to 17. And then voila, 17 star Abzo. If you already have your current stuff, your glove and your shoe, you could keep these or get these to 15. And then when there's a 5, 10, 15, transfer these, get these to 16, transfer hammer into the Rimuru, 16 again, transfer into Abzo, 16 again, safeguard to 17.
Okay.
That way you can maintain the most value that you've already invested, because we have no trade, no selling, so we want to make sure that whatever money we have invested gets saved as much as possible.
And so for the highest treasure, also the shoulder off of Ranmaru.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, I would have said no, because I don't know if that item can be replaced ever, but now it's a drop from the boss, so if bad comes to worse and you do need it for some weird reason, then you can just, get it back as a drop and eventually you'll get it. So you could use that one as well, yeah, to maintain the value. And it basically also functions as a 100% epot scroll, right? So you can immediately start scrolling from Epic as well, so that saves that money.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. When it comes to belts, the pink beam belt is like a nice, it is like an easy one that you can get backups for. So during a 30%
I have like
off,
3 in my bags.
right? You could already try to get 1 to 15, and because it's easy to replace, you don't have to safeguard, etc. So that when you get a superior, you can immediately transfer over and start working from a higher star force there, and saving yourself the star force the safeguard cost, right?
So should I be fusing right now for flames to eventually wear it, or should I just be trying to get an epot on it and then, or the epot? Yeah, I need an epot.
Epot and Star Force on it, and then get it to like a nice point where you can transfer it. Fusing is horrible if you're not at least a craftsman or a Meister tier in alchemy. I've started just extracting my cups and belts and all that stuff on all my characters. Okay. Unless you're craftsman or Meister or planning to get there and stay there for a while, it's not worth your time fusing. The outcome is worse than a regular red flame, so.
Okay.
Not bueno.
It's worth it on cups though, right? I mean,
if your current cup, your current cup is like 40, right? So there's still quite a room for improvement. So
I think I fused yesterday and I got a 6% all stat. So what is that? 48 plus 20. Yeah, I got like a 68.
Okay, that's already quite a bit better. I think the highest possible outcome. Yeah, I think the highest possible outcome if you get like full perfect roll is something like 90 flame score or something. And typically you aim for like 70 to 75% of perfect outcome, so you're already looking at like something around like the 60 to 70 mark. So that's already pretty much where you're at when it comes to fusing. So I think beyond this, it's probably fine to just like get rid of them. Okay. You got 62.5 from fusing recently. What was your tier in fusing? Were you craftsman or a Meister moti? Because that's what determines how good your result is. The highest line is like 5 on. If you were not any craftsman, that might have been the best possible result to get. Flag. Oh shit. Oh, I'm on the marksman. Rip. Oh yeah, because we went longer here than I was planning for. Whoops, my bad. Last thing is flaming. I would just slowly flame things up as you get them from bossing. Highest priority is, of course, your current weapon. Yeah,
the flame on my Oofbra is trash.
Yeah. And just like even a decent flame on that will make a huge difference in weapon attack right now. Especially since... So
you want to focus on attack power for weapon, like on the flame specifically, like all stat, stuff like that? Okay.
Yeah, so even if you hit like a 5%, like a tier 5 attack there for now, that'll be fine. And then, you move down the line. So the priority is like weapon, then anything Abzo, then anything... Well, weapon, and then within the flame advantage items, just a high level to low level, and then the non-flame advantage items, high level to low level. You know about flame advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically, you know, it's like the Ufbra and then the fucking, and then Abzo, CRA, Cup, and then everything below that, basically. Is like the general order. So for that, again, check the progression grid, look at the flame scores, look at the numbers you're aiming for, and then if you have something close to that, move on to the next thing, and then like slowly, kind of like with the hyper stats, you know, like slowly build it up one at a time. Don't try to go too high on one, because then you get a little bit lopsided on, you know, on one end, and then you might miss out on a bunch of gains that you can make on the other side. But the weapon definitely, like tier 5 or tier 6 attack will be huge.
Okay.
Okay, as I'm doing flag race here, is there anything else with the compensation or anything that I mentioned that you feel like went over a little bit too quickly, or something that you could
no,
use some extra?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, that's cool.
Like I have a plan now.
Yeah. Hopefully you feel less stuck. We'll see in the
Yeah.
in the coming weeks and with upcoming events and everything how well you're able to rush through all of that. But yeah,
Cool.
that's yeah. I think you have a good understanding now, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, and I'll see you around.
See you around.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Oh, go! Oh my god, I passed him. Gold River and eat my shit. Oh my god, he's got a good portal. He's got a better portal. Oh, he's got a better ping. Oh, and then the up arrow doesn't. Thank you, game. Oh, I almost had a fighting chance there. Oh yeah, just do it again. Yeah, yeah. What do you care? Oh, third time's a charm. Beautiful. Thanks, game. Love you. If this progression session was helpful for you, I'm glad. If you want one of these, check the description of the video. If you want to join the guild, make sure you check the description of the video. And if you have data for me, either monster skill per hour or battle analysis or training videos in Moonbridge or higher, anywhere in Tenebris, please send it to me. Links for everything is in the description of the video. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope it was helpful for some of you, and I'll see you either on Twitch live or another time.